Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here with another movie review. This time I actually decided to watch Paranormal Activity from 2007. Now I decided to watch this because this is a franchise that I had never watched. Because when this came out, I could tell what this was from the previews. It was a cash grab thing to capitalize on the success of Blair Witch and all the other ghost crap that was coming out at the time, to try to sucker like teenagers and like soccer moms and stuff like that into like a PG-13 horror type movie. Just a cash grab. And when I would look at reviews for it from horror sites and stuff like that, from like major hardcore horror fans and stuff, the reviews were always bad. So I knew this was playing to like the 13-year-old crowd, and it's not to mean anything offensive like to people that do like these films, but from my perspective, especially now after seeing this film, this was awful. I don't see how anybody could really enjoy this movie as a horror film unless you really are like part of that 13-year-old crowd, to be honest, because this is a really bad movie. But again, if you like it, that is cool. But for Paranormal Activity 2007, this was awful. This is easily a 0 out of 4. I don't even know how this setup would even work as a full movie. Movie was pretty much like an extended episode of Ghost Hunters or Poltergeist without the very good directing and cool special effects, and it looked like it was made for like $5. By the end of this movie, it felt like something that would honestly go to like direct to DVD that you would find like a Walmart $5 bin, to be honest. They try to make you think the movie's like based on like a true story. The guy in this movie, you got a couple in here, like a girl named Katie, and I forgot the guy's name, like Mika or something like that, or Micah, whatever. They try to make you seem like this is the footage that was found, that is what actually happened to him. And the dude's like, it just jumps you into what's going on. Like, the girl's like experiencing hauntings, and apparently she's been haunted by this entity for her whole life, and the dude like just thinks it's a big joke, and he set up cameras like all in his house. It's really interesting how, it's really annoying actually. It was funny at first how like lightly the guy was taking the situation, but things would just get like, you would never actually see anything, and it would get kind of annoying because you would just see like a door close or something, but you would eventually hear like a loud noises and stuff, to the point where the girl's like scared out of her mind or scared to death acting that way, and the dude would just like still keep playing it off like, oh, you stupid cow, there's no ghosts here. That's basically the attitude the dude had. So it was like, why are these two even together? Because they don't really seem, there's no like real gel here between these two at all. But the guy, his acting was okay, but his character got more and more annoying. Like, the girl who played Katie wanted to like call like a demonologist and all that to get help and everything. She had like the number for one, and the dude just like kept putting it off. It was just like really annoying because he's like, I'm a man, I'm gonna handle this myself. It was just so annoying. I wanted to like strangle the guy to death, because it's one thing to be a skeptic, but it's another thing to be like a constant asshole. If your girlfriend or fiance ended like it is in this movie, I believe, that is like so scared to death this bad of what's going on, she tells you all these stories about demonic entities and stuff that used to haunt her as a kid, you would think that just for the sake of it, you would want to take it a little more seriously. And they try to make it like a thing in the movie to where at the beginning they tell you like, oh, this entity follows you everywhere and all that, it'll go with you everywhere. But the guy also mentions that it could also like lay dormant for a long time and then just miraculously randomly reappear. So it's like, well, things keep getting worse and worse, to the point where there's like even a moment where she's like bleeding on the floor, and the dude's like, okay, we pack you back up to the bed. Like, you would immediately call the doctor. It makes no sense. Like, everything in this movie is just put in there purposely as an excuse to get these people to stay in this house longer and longer and longer. It's so cheap. And the guy is like, and no matter what happens, like, he never thinks to just leave. Like, wouldn't you automatically, after so much of this like going on, go like, once you get to the point where the dude like pours salt on the floor of his house, and just to see if he can see like footprints in it, and he sees like entity prints in it, which is weird because it's like a spiritual entity and it's leaving footprints. That's kind of weird. But you would think that you would automatically, like, no matter what your religious beliefs are, you would think you would automatically say, let's go to the church, and you would just get out of there and go stay all night in a church or something. It really doesn't make any sense. And it is also funny that the demonic entity really only attacks when it's nighttime. That's really hilarious. But for most part, it's just kind of annoying. And when it gets to the ending of this, like the climax of everything, pretty much the thing like possesses the girl, and she like walks off into the hallway. And the girl like has a moment in the movie where she's like standing above the dude, and he like records it on camera, and it's just her standing there for a while, and it is kind of creepy for a little bit. But because this movie feels so long, because it feels like an idea like stretched out really long for this one movie of what would be like an episode of Ghost Hunters or something, or some cheap direct-to-DVD horror film, that it doesn't hold the effect. The effect doesn't hold. You really start to get bored. And because they don't actually have the budget to afford any kind of monster or anything, you never actually see anything, except like one moment in the movie at the main last shot of the film. But the movie just gets more and more boring, and you get more and more frustrated because the guy character is so annoying. The girl who plays Katie is bad actor, at least in this one. I know she comes back in some of the other ones, but her acting here is bad. But she has a big rack that was really nice to look at, but her acting is bad. But yeah, at the end of it, pretty much she's like gets up and sleepwalks out of the room. She starts screaming. The guy runs out there to check on her, and then you hear a bunch of noise and stuff, and it's kind of creepy at first. But then the dude just like gets flung back at the camera real fast, and the girl's just like walking slowly. She walks to the camera and she's like looking at it, smiling, and then she just lunges at the camera, and it's like a CGI demon face over her face. It's so corny, and it completely takes you out of any realm of this supposedly being a true story with the really bad CGI face. These movies, I knew they were going to be bad, but I wanted to watch them just because I've never watched any of these. I just kept putting it off, but I said what the hell, and just decided to watch them. And this is so bad. I can't believe this spawned the franchise in 2007. This movie is such an easily seen cash grab. Like Jason Blum, like a lot of people try to give that guy credit now because of the new Halloween with Jamie Lee Curtis, but if you actually look at his like company and everything, all they make is really like real bad cash grabs. I mean, the first like few Insidious movies are all right, like the first two, and those are kind of enjoyable. After that series goes downhill, and I don't think they did the Conjuring franchise. I think that was Warner Brothers or New Line Cinema, which Warner Brothers owns. But yeah, most of his stuff is pretty bad. The first Sinister was really good, but Sinister 2 sucked. The Paranormal Activity movies, I can already tell, all these movies are going to suck. And what else did they do? Black Christmas remake was awful. This is another one. This was awful. Easily a 0 out of 4. Really cheesy and stupid. I just can't believe like people bought into this. As like, did people actually think this was real when this came out in 2007? I get it. Maybe if you're not like a more sophisticated type viewer, or more of someone who's like from a critic perspective, like the way like movie critics and stuff and people like me look at things, because I'm part of that kind of critic thing, because I've seen mountains upon mountains of films. If this was like your first like movie you watched as like a little kid or something, like a preteen, this feels like the audience this is playing to, that you would actually probably believe this was real and all that. And after it was over, you'd be like, Mom, they said it was real. I'm so scared. You know, that kind of situation. But for anybody over the age of like 13 or whatever, this is easily a bad movie. It feels so elongated and stretched out. There's like really no reason for this to be a film, to be honest. This is easily a $5 like bargain bin movie. Yeah, 0 out of 4. Completely worthless film. The acting was bad, except for the guy who played the fiance or whatever. He was okay. He seemed kind of like a legit actor, but at the same time, though, his character is so annoyingly stupid that you just hated him. I hated both the people in this movie. Eventually, I just couldn't stand either one of them. So yeah, all in all, a 0 out of 4. This was really a big waste of time. Honestly, I felt like fast forwarding the movie towards the end of it because it felt like it was dragging on and on. I don't know if I can even handle watching the sequel to this. Maybe I'll put it off for a little bit before I jump into it, because I really do want to do my commentary for A Nightmare on Elm Street 3, The Dream Warriors, but I might go ahead and wrap up this Paranormal Activity series as fast as possible just to get it over with, because this was pretty bad. So yeah, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you again.